afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming here and for giving us an opportunity to share with you our first thoughts on the budget speech given by the Honorable Finance Minister. As you would have noticed, I think this is one of the longest speeches we've seen in the last couple of years. And just some macro observations first I'd like to make. We felt that it's a very comprehensive coverage of many areas of the national economy. He really, covered every aspect of people everywhere. I think that was a very comprehensive coverage. Our suggestions have also been, please look at 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, don't look at only the immediate. We felt it is visionary. It is looking at what are the sort of developments which can happen over the next year or 2 years, 3 years. And we think that is a positive direction to give a solid foundation for a higher economic growth for the country. His focus on job creation was high. He looked at many areas, whether manufacturing, whether agri, services. He was keen on the aspect of job creation, which is a very positive side. He talked of tax stability at a macro level again, and that we think is very important. And frankly, we also shared that in a lot of the areas we've actually shared also in our meeting with the FM when he invited all the associations. So I think in terms of, again, vision, I think one very important aspect he's highlighted is that the fiscal deficit, he wants to bring it to 3% by the year 1670. I think this is in line with his initial observations 2 days ago when he said that I would rather expand the economy and bring in fiscal consolidation rather than contract expenditure to bring in fiscal consolidation. So I think this is a direction in that way. Couple of specific issues just to share again, and then my colleagues, Mr. Mazumdar and Mr. Forbes, will also share. I think there were many areas on the people front which he addressed, whether it was health, whether it was skill development, whether it was the Apprentices Act, whether it was sanitation, when he said all houses to have sanitation by 2019. I think good thing also was subsidies were to be better targeted to ensure it reaches the person required. The agriculture front, he touched very extensively again. That's where 60% of our population is, and we need to focus on the agriculture side, whether it's irrigation, agriculture universities, a price stabilization fund, producer organizations. He set aside 2,000 crores for that and said, I want to set up 2,000 producer organizations. That can be a very strong group in rural India for getting economies on the purchase side and on the selling side. So I think that's a positive side again. APMC Act he touched on, warehousing he touched on. I think these are areas which need to be addressed. So that is something which we think is positive again. Another area on the agri where he talked about 8 lakh crores of credit and giving 3% benefit of interest in case you pay on time. That's a good incentive to actually get the money paid back to the bank. I think again, if I may take the next, which is FDI. FDI he's touched very extensively. We also recommended in defense or in insurance. He's come to 49%. That was a long demand again. E-commerce is an area where till now it was not looked at, but he's opened up to that also. Smart cities and manufacturing. So I think the coverage there is quite good. Similarly, on textile clusters he wants to set up. MSMEs, he's given a lot of focus on this time, which is again a positive side where, and similarly, he set out 10,000 crore fund for startups. That's again a positive entrepreneurial step, which is being looked at. Of course, on industrial corridors, new industrial clusters, he's focusing on these areas also. I won't get into too much of the detailed tax work because that I think, as they say, the devil is in the detail. I think only when one sees the actual document do we have a very clear idea of what is the implication of various tax proposals. As was expected, cigarettes and all that have gone up. Well, that was something I think which he talked about even at the that was in the beginning also. I think a couple of areas he's talked about, and we have to see the details again. But I'm just talking macro level. It's an issue industry has talked about of inverted tax structures. And that we think is a very positive step. There are many instances of products where the raw material duties are higher than the finished product duties. So that should be rectified. So I think these are things he's taken on. Tax rationalization I've already talked of, like he said, on coal. Many companies have experienced it where you have different import customs duties for different types of coal, and it's very difficult to differentiate what is what. So I think that is something which will take some time. I will just say that the speech was very comprehensive. I think we could not get too much details of what exactly is the content of each of the items he talked about. As we said, the devil is in the detail. We are waiting for that. We'll study that and then see what it actually means on each of the areas he's touched on. But I think one thing we will also be waiting anxiously for, and I think the whole country will be waiting very anxiously for, is the actual delivery of the proposals which the finance minister has made, the actual implementation, the actual outcome. You know, he's initiated many studies in this budget speech. We think that's positive. But I think the importance of having actual delivery on it, have actual implementation on it, and ensuring that the results come at the end of the day, I think that is the most important part of the budget exercise. Overall, we think it's a very positive direction which the government has set for national growth, for economic growth, and for job creation. That's something we think is very important. Thank you. I now request Mr. Sumit Mazumdar, our President-designate, to make his observation.
Thank you very much.